Nevada officials are bracing for an invasion at Area 51 by humans.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're taking a deep dive into the notorious Storm Area 51 event.
It was a joke, but one the Air Force is taking seriously.
Number 10. It started on Facebook.
More than 1 million people have signed up for the Storm Area 51, They Can't Stop All of Us event slated for late September, in which the Post declares, "We can move faster than their bullets. Let's see them aliens."
This all happened many years ago now, in September 2019. So you'd be forgiven for forgetting how exactly it began, but it was an event organized on Facebook, back when Facebook was still a semi-usable website, that quickly became a meme and attracted unprecedented attention.
It started out as just from a pure stroke of imagination. It's just meant to be funny. I want to do something cool out there now that we have a bunch of people.
The architect behind this plan was Matty Roberts, who we'll be hearing about more later. And it culminated in 2 million people saying that they were going to descend on Nevada to attend, and another 1.5 million who were thinking about it. It took months to build up and was set to be one of the biggest events of the year. This didn't exactly pan out, but it was still impressive coming from Facebook.
The idea of having a raid out here is pretty wild to me. I don't know how people are going to Naruto run through shrubs and rocks and rattlesnakes.
Number 9. Warnings.
A lot of folks are taking the internet-fueled idea of storming Area 51, where conspiracy theorists think the government has aliens on ice.
Area 51, the existence of which was only acknowledged by the U.S. government in 2013, is one of the U.S.'s most secretive bases, used to test classified experimental aircraft. As such, the U.S. Air Force wasn't particularly happy about people planning to raid its base.
One of the many reasons Air Force officials don't want people to trespass on the base, they are worried some might be killed.
The area is heavily guarded by soldiers, known as camel guys to ufologists and locals, and they are authorized to use lethal force. However, it would certainly be a bad look for the U.S. military to start shooting its own public, so they did their best to warn people to stay away from the base, saying it's illegal to break in. Various government agencies, including the FBI, were involved in trying to contain the situation.
The Air Force, which denies any alien visitors or ships, issued a stern warning, saying, quote, "Any attempt to illegally access military installations or military training areas is dangerous."
Number 8. Flight restrictions.
It's not going to be like a military-based slaughter. It'll actually be something really fun, educational, maybe music and art.
Along with the FBI, the Federal Aviation Administration was also involved in the incident, with additional airspace restrictions placed over Homey Airport, the official name of Area 51. Of course, the area is already restricted airspace, especially considering it's an Air Force base that tests aircraft.
The FBI agents that showed up, they showed up at 10 a.m. because I was kind of scared at this point, but they were super cool.
You definitely don't want commercial or civilian planes seeing tests while they're underway. But the restrictions were increased ahead of the event, all to prevent drones and media helicopters from getting too close.
But behind those barbed wire fences, officials are tracking something.
People were anticipating that millions would converge on the small towns of Rachel and Hico, so you can see why news outlets wanted choppers in the air. In the end, though, the choppers were likely unnecessary. Number 7. Fire 2.0.
It was billed as a lavish, one-of-a-kind music festival for an elite millennial crowd.
The biggest failed event of 2017 was the Fire Festival, when fraudster Billy McFarland organized an elite music festival in the Bahamas. Unlike Storm Area 51, thousands did attend Fire, overrunning the locals.
We had no electricity, there was no showers, there was no bathrooms, there was no running water.
Ahead of this event, many claimed that it was going to end up being Fire Festival 2.0, with locals similarly put out. While thousands did live on the island where Fire was meant to take place, Rachel and Hico had populations of less than 200 people combined.
It is more and more likely to turn to Firefest 2.0. It's a very quiet town.
How they were going to cater for the 3.5 million who signed up for the Facebook event was anyone's guess. Though the owner of Little Alley Inn, Connie West, was going to allow as much camping as possible. Number 6. Competing events.
How much money has been poured into this by the county?
We have, at this point in time, appropriated $250,000.
The original event planned to coincide with Storm Area 51 was called Alien Stock, a play on Woodstock. But it wasn't the only event that happened in Nevada that week. Alien Stock sprung up in Rachel, the better-known but smaller of the two nearby towns, while Heiko hosted the Storm Area 1 Base Camp event.
The turnout on the eve of Alien Stock was underwhelming to say the least, which might be because Maddie Roberts had dropped out of the Rachel event at the last minute to host another event in Las Vegas.
However, there were some disputes over Alien Stock, since organizer Maddie Roberts actually canceled it and launched a third event, Area 51 Celebration, in Vegas itself. Certainly a location better suited to hosting millions of tourists at a time. Attendees weren't happy, with many believing that Roberts took the money and ran, since he'd apparently gathered tens of thousands of dollars in donations.
The decision to call it off was probably one of the best decisions I've made, so now we've moved it to a much safer venue.
Number 5, Connie West and Maddie Roberts.
We called Connie up, said, hey, you mind if we come out and set up a stage in your parking lot and bring a few friends' bands and have some music?
Despite Roberts being a self-confessed broke college student at the time he posted the Facebook event, he soon hired lawyers to go after Connie West, the previously mentioned owner of Rachel's Little Alien. This was all over West still using the name Alien Stock for the Rachel event, which she then said she'd organized herself almost single-handedly.
How did you start this? What led up to
I didn't start it. The internet started it. And it just dumped in my lap. Jeremy from Whitey Savage called, said they wanted to play.
We were thinking like a little 12 by 12.
This is almost certainly true, since the event went ahead as planned without Roberts. But he still wasn't happy, sending her a cease and desist over her use of the name. She didn't cease and desist, and talked to Vegas-based journalists about how much money she spent to fund an event that Roberts, who wasn't local, planned on a whim.
He pulls out and leaves all this mess he started and created behind him. Well, I'm not impressed.
Number 4, copycats.
I realized there was never going to be a mass trespassing, and standing under the stars gave us time to reflect on what the real point of this was.
There were yet more events planned to capture the public's interest in storming secret facilities, some of them far away from the U.S. One of the more prominent events, also supposedly planned in the States, was to storm the vault of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Utah, as well as an event to storm the U.S. Capitol, which looks a little chilling in hindsight.
Inspired by the mock plan to storm Area 51, Scotland now has an event scheduled to prove the existence of its own elusive creature, the Loch Ness Monster.
Further afield, and there was an event to storm the Vatican and see what the Catholic Church is hiding, as well as an attempt to storm Loch Ness and find the famous monster. While Loch Ness isn't guarded, people were warned to stay away because of the dangers of unpredictable cold lakes.
At least 21,000 people have RSVP'd to an event called Storm Loch Ness. Nessie can't hide from us all.
Number 3, shooting incident.
They're not going to get on site. You know, it's not going to happen.
Some necessary background for all of this is that earlier in 2019, somebody actually was shot by the so-called camo guys at an Area 51 checkpoint. It's believed that he was trying to get into the base and was pursued by deputies for 8 miles until stopping at the checkpoint with a, quote, metallic cylindrical object.
The National Nuclear Security Administration says the man failed to stop at the security gate and then he drove another 8 miles.
He was shot and tragically died, serving as a stark warning to anybody who might try to infiltrate the base. And it's still not clear what the object was or what he was doing. But this apparently didn't dissuade any of the attendees heading to Lincoln County that weekend, because they remained gung-ho about their plan to break into the base.
Instead, it says that Area 51 was a testing site for the government's aerial surveillance programs during the Cold War. Not that sensational, but it's likely to cause more fascination about this mythical place.
Number 2, on the day.
And we don't even know if we're going to have 500 people show up or if we're going to have 50,000 people show up.
So what actually happened? Did anybody really storm Area 51? No. In fact, hardly anybody went at all, despite locals anticipating tens of thousands at the very least. In total, it's estimated that around 1,500 people attended. Far fewer than the 3.5 million who said they were interested on Facebook. Interestingly, one of the events, Alien Stock, the one arranged primarily by Connie West, was deemed a success, while the other was deemed a failure.
There is a ton of media Look at this. We got Channel 3, Fox, ABC. There's a stage.
Many of the attendees were also journalists there to cover the story rather than actual enthusiasts, though the ones who were there looked like they were having a good enough time to say they were in the middle of the desert.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into settings and switch on your notifications.
Number 1. The end result. Nobody did storm Area 51, running like Naruto or otherwise, though apparently over 100 people did go to one of the gates to try and get a sighting of one of the legendary camo guys. One person actually tried to get in, but unlike the man earlier in 2019, they were warned away and not harmed, probably because they weren't carrying a suspicious object. There were some arrests, however, but they weren't for trespassing. They were public urination and indecent exposure, among other things. 2 people were injured in a car accident in Rachel and were able to quickly get help. It certainly wasn't Fire Festival 2.0, drawing in next to nobody, despite marquee guests like ufologist Jeremy Corbell.
We are the pinnacle of millennials, to be sure. What better death could there be than dying for a meme?
Let us know in the comments whether you were one of the few who went to Area 51 that day.
They walked away, leaving everybody high and dry.